All right, perfect. Thank you very much, Michi. Hi, and welcome to everyone. My name is Fahim Niaz. I'm the product manager for Anime Studio. This is one of the first webinars that we put together where we've invited pretty much everyone from that's an Anime Studio user. So hopefully you guys can get a little bit of insight as to what we're doing with our product line, as well as give you guys some information with respect to the 8.1 updater that will be released shortly, hopefully next week. We will have several key people from the team online and available to answer some of your questions. So I'll go through a few items here, and then basically we will get started right away. So thanks again for joining us. I apologize, I'm a little bit under the weather, so if my voice gets raspy, then I'll try to clear it up. So here we go. So this is, like I said, our first one of our first Anime Studio webinars. There's a few housekeeping items that I wanted to discuss with you guys right before, just so everyone is clear with the expectations and how the webinar will be run. So the first item is we had previously tried a webinar where everyone was chatting at the same time, and unfortunately it caused our WebEx system to crash. So right now, all the panelists will be able to chat, and everyone else will be muted. Participants such as yourself will be muted. So if you do have any questions or comments to make, please use the chat functionality to ask those questions. We'll be taking questions at the end of or answering questions at the end of the presentation. But please make sure to start asking your questions right away. And when you do ask questions, in the chat functionality, there's an area where you can select send to all panelists. That way we all get those questions rather than just one of the panelists or the host of the webinar. And as you probably heard earlier, Michi will record this presentation. We hope to make it available on our website and on YouTube. So look forward to seeing that. Sometimes there are technical issues that occur, so hopefully it won't be too bad. And Michi Catanese will be responsible for answering any technical questions related to the webinar. And if you have any issues with logging on or anything like that, or issues with typing your questions, please feel free to contact her. Her handle is Smith Micro Host, so it should be pretty straightforward there. So the agenda for this particular webinar will be, we'll be talking about four items here. We'll do an introduction to the Anime Studio team, a product roadmap, and then we'll do an Anime Studio 8.1 updater sort of review, and Mike Clifton will be handling that. And then at the end, we'll have the Q&A. So let me introduce you guys to some of the guys that are on the team. I'll speak for them, and then when they come online, then you can actually hear their voices, just to save time. So Mike Clifton is our lead engineer. He was the creator of Anime Studio. He's been around with the product since the very beginning because he created it. And previous to Anime Studio, the product was named Moho. So he has all knowledge. He's the all-knowledgeable one that we always go to. Jason Cozy is the lead quality assurance person that we have, and Jason's been around for a very long time around Anime Studio. We have been working together for maybe 6 years, so Jason has a lot of exposure to Anime Studio. He's an avid animator, he's an avid artist, so he has some excellent input, and he always tries to make sure that the product is of high quality when it comes out. I'm here, I'm just Fahim, so I'm the third person, and obviously we introduced Michi, and we do have a bunch of other engineers and quality assurance people on the team as well. So that's really the Anime Studio team. So let's talk about the product roadmap. One of the reasons I wanted to bring this up with you guys was to let you know what we're trying to achieve with our product, Anime Studio. In the past, people really didn't know what our goals were. So I kind of want to state those pretty clearly to you, and let you know that you're all part of a bigger team, and we very much value your input. So I've separated the product roadmap into 3 categories: the past, the present, and the future. Some of the beta testers have already heard the items that I talked about, so I apologize if you're online and you're hearing this again. But first of all, everyone that's on the LM forums has been really good and in providing feedback, and we really want to say that, look, in the past we've been listening to you, but I'm not so sure if we really implemented a lot of the changes, but we hope that in the future we will. So in the past, we heard you on the LM forums and via email, but we did only have yearly product version upgrades, and those were really short in my opinion. A 12-month cycle sometimes doesn't give anybody a solid chance of really using the product, and so you'll see in the future product roadmap area that we've changed that around a little bit. We had fewer updates as well. We're trying to change that, and then we were unfortunately not implementing too many of the the enhancements that the general public was inquiring about. So we're hoping to change that. So right now, it's the present. What we're trying to do is we're trying to increase the number of updates. With the 8.1 updater, we've had a lot of improvements. The 30 improvements that you see here are mostly the major ones. There's a lot of little things that have changed as well. We've included the Poser 9 SDK. We've implemented some new enhancements from users and from the beta team. And then as well, we have a cool functionality where we support the new Wacom Bamboo Multi-Touch product. So Mike will be giving a demonstration of that. We've added more engineers to the team. We currently have 2 other engineers aside from Mike. They're both named Eric. So Eric and Eric, it's quite interesting and quite funny at the same time. And then we are currently working on several major projects right now. We're doing the Mac App Store build. If you've ever gone to the Mac App Store, Anime Studio's on there. That was quite a challenge for us to get up on the Mac App Store. They have a lot of stringent requirements. We're creating a Japanese build, and that will be released in Japan, and as well as a German build for those who speak German, and we'll be creating that as well. We recently sent out a survey, to better understand the target market. It was very positive. We got a lot of great feedback, and hopefully, we can send out better messaging so that people adapt our product. As well, we're still, soliciting feedback from you guys. So feel free, whether if you want to contact me or post messages on the LM forums. We really appreciate that because that helps make our product a little bit better. So the next slide here, we're talking about the future now and what we plan to do with Anime Studio and the Anime Studio product line. So we've changed our yearly upgrade path to a 15 to 18 month upgrade cycle, and if you figure out the math, you can probably figure out when version 9 will come out. We've realized that it's important to give people a little bit more time with the current version, and we'll come back and reevaluate that and see if we need to lengthen it or shorten it. We're definitely looking to lengthen it at this point. As well, our focus will be on functionality for pro users. I really think that's an important element with Anime Studio. We really need to make sure that the pro users have the functionalities that they require. This will obviously trickle down to the debut users as well, but the pro users are those pro animators that will be evangelizing the product, and we hope that that evangelism will help bring in all the debut users. So in speaking about debut, we need to make debut a little bit easier to use for folks. Debut is still a little bit complicated in my opinion, and I hope that we can make it a little bit easier in that the workflow should be straightforward. And in doing that, we need to help train the debut users so that they can achieve success and eventually move over to the pro version of the product. At the same time, we're evaluating feature requests from the beta team, from folks that are on LM, on the Lost Marble site, and as well, Facebook is another area where people have posted some enhancement requests and via email. So, please make sure to continue to do that. and we'll obviously be sending out more surveys to determine the prioritization of features and such. So that's really one of the ways where we decide on what to implement and what not to implement. It really will be based on surveys and what people want to see out there. So the more participation we see from you, the more we'll likely, implement those particular features. So we're really happy to see that our, pro users are highly engaged. We love that. We want to continue to do that and continue to hear from them. And then we want to engage the debut users as well. So if you guys are a pro user, if you do see the debut users on the LM forums, please feel free to help them out. A lot of them are beginner animators or hobbyists. And, I'm sure that you guys remember when you were starting out with animation, it was quite difficult. So, yeah, so eventually, those debut users will become the pro users, and they'll hopefully help out other people. And, yeah, and I apologize if I was speaking a little bit too fast, but I wanted to make sure to get Mike some time to chat about the new features of the 8.1 updater and some of the bug fixes as well. So the next slide will be some discussion points on what Mike will be talking about. So if possible, Michi, if you could pass the microphone to Mike. So that would be great.
Hi everybody, thanks for coming to the webinar today. I'm going to go through some of the new features that we're giving you in version 8.1. Aside from several bug fixes and improvements, there's some new stuff that has been added. So one of the things I'm going to show you is some multi-touch features. Wacom, the company that makes drawing tablets, has recently released a new line of bamboo tablets, and some of them support multi-touch. And Anime 8.1 is one of the first products that is supporting this new multi-touch API from Wacom. So what I'm showing you here, this is Anime Studio Pro 8.1, and next to me I have a new Wacom bamboo tablet. And as I touch it with my hand, you'll see a red dot for every finger that I put down. So these are fingers dragging across the tablet, and it supports a lot of fingers, I think up to 15. And the dots just sort of give you a visualization of what's happening on the screen as you move your fingers around. Right now this isn't really very useful. I just wanted to show you what it looks like with a lot of fingers touching the tablet. Let me open a file I prepared here to show you what you can do with multi-touch. So here I've got a simple scene with multiple shapes in it, and if I wanted to position these shapes traditionally, I'd have to switch a lot between different tools, the translate, scale, and rotate tools. But what I can do with a multi-touch tablet, if I use a single finger and I just tap and drag around with my finger, it moves the object side to side and up and down. If I use two or more fingers, I can use familiar gestures. To anybody that's used an iPhone or an iPad, I have the pinch to zoom. You can see how my fingers are moving apart and together, rotate and translate all together in a single gesture. And it operates on the currently active object. So if I just switch to a different object, I can reposition it, click on this one, and move that around. So it makes it quite easy to position objects without having to switch tools all the time.
Now, Mike, if I could just ask you, this is also available for the debut product as well?
Yes, this is in Pro and Debut.
Okay.
Now, if you'll notice, all these shapes are in a single layer. So the way it works is if you have a draw tool active, you're moving the currently selected shape. I have another example here. Here I have a bunch of trees all stacked up on top of each other. In this case, they're separate layers. And now if I have a layer tool active, the same gestures work, but they're for manipulating an entire layer. So I can place the trees this way. The interesting thing about the the multi-touch is that it's exposed through the scripting interface. So for, I know we have some power users that are that like to write new tools. They can write tools that work with the multi-touch gestures. So that's multi-touch, a quick overview. I'm going to move on to another feature. Anime Studio is primarily a vector-based program. And for a long time, you've been able to import vector artwork from Illustrator. For 8.1, we've added a new feature to import SVG files. SVG, if you don't know, stands for Scalable Vector Graphics. And it's a vector file format primarily for the web. A lot of web browsers support it these days. And what we can do is we have an SVG file. We open it up, and it imports into Anime Studio. Now, most vector drawing programs like Adobe Illustrator and Inkscape can export SVG files, and these can then be imported into Anime Studio. The reason you would want to do this instead of Illustrator is that the Illustrator format we support is rather old, and it's not really feasible to keep up with their format because it's a proprietary format. But SVG is an open format, and so I think it's going to be a better way to import vector graphics into Anime in the future. So this is an SVG file. I just imported it into Anime. If we zoom in, you can see it's full of control points. It's fully editable as a vector object that can go around and move points around. So this is just another way to get artwork into Anime Studio if you don't want to draw it within the program itself.
What tool were you using to move those points around there?
Oh, here I was using the magnet tool. It's a way to move entire regions at once. So instead of, there's a lot of vector points in this particular tiger, and moving them one by one would be kind of cumbersome. So the magnetic tool lets you click and drag a whole region. Crazy ear. So SVG, a new way to import vector graphics into Anime Studio. I'm going to show you another little fun feature here. Well, actually, let me tell you about one that I'm not going to show you a demo, but one of the other bullet points was that we've updated the support for poser files in Anime Studio Pro. A new version of Poser came out recently, our figure posing tool. Poser 9 and Poser Pro 2012. And Anime Studio 8.1 has been updated to support the new features in the latest version of Poser. So you can import new Poser 9 files. Here's a little fun feature. This is called Magic Lines. It sort of can give you like magical smoke effects or magic spells, that kind of thing. And the way it works is it's quite simple to use. I have a cauldron here, and I want some magic smoke to come up out of it. So if I just draw lines using whatever tool I choose, here I'm using the freehand tool. Just draw some swirly lines. Then I'll select them all. And under the Scripts menu, this is a Pro feature. Layer Effects, Magic Lines. It gives you several options for the duration and the color of the lines. You can play with all that. I'm just going to go with the defaults and click OK. And what happens now, I'm going to step slowly through the animation. These magic lines come flowing out of the cauldron that follow the path that I drew.
You know, I'd like to just point out too, those that are not familiar, this is a script, so it's only available in Pro, and that is also the case with Poser 9 and Poser 2012 support. That's a Pro only feature.
That's right. I'm going to stop here and render a single frame so you can see the overall effect. It has a little glow thing, and the magic lines sort of taper off at the end to give a nice little trail. I have a rendered movie that I'm going to play here of the magic lines. I don't know how smoothly this is going to work over the webinar, but I'm going to play it and see how it goes. So this is what the magic lines look like in the final output. If you saw it, good. It probably looked kind of chunky. You'll have to trust me that it flows pretty smoothly. If anybody's interested, we can upload something to YouTube, or you can try it out yourselves when you get 8.1. Let's see, what do we have next? There's a new from template command. So in the file menu, new from template, there's a folder in the Anime Studio program folder called templates, and you can insert your own files into that. Now, templates could be useful, for example, if you commonly work in a sort of a non-standard format. Suppose you often animate tall, skinny animations instead of widescreen. You could create a tall, skinny template. And when you choose that, I want to save the magic line, you get a brand new document that's in that format. So anything you put in this document, dimensions, frame rate, even any starting content will show up when you use that as a template, and then you can go ahead and edit from there. Another example would be, suppose you produce a show, an ongoing series that uses a recurring background or some kind of logo. So here I created another template called Anime TV, and if I choose that, I get a background that's already inserted for me, and then I could go ahead and draw my new scene on top of it, insert characters, do whatever I want. And one more example, basic physics. So if you're doing physics animation in Anime Studio Pro, one thing you have to do a lot, you have to go through some steps every time, is set up a physics group, turn physics on. You almost always want to create some kind of floor object so that things can fall onto it. But here I've set up a template that has the basic physics setup already prepared. So now I can just go and add objects to the scene to bounce around and crash. The next thing I wanted to show you was an enhancement to blend morphs. Let's see. This is something that came up from our users. Here I have a character, and I'm going to bring up the blend morphs dialog. I created two morphs for this character. One is a blink, and one is a simple head turn. Now, previously in Anime Studio, if I wanted to combine these two morphs, so let's say turn the head and then I want it to blink, see how the eyes are going kind of weird. The reason is that they're not taking into account the head turn. They're blinking back to the original position. So we have an option here called relative blend. If I turn that on and then I do the blink, then the two combine smoothly. So it can blink and turn at the same time. So the weirdness without the relative blend is not exactly a bug. It depends on how you've set up your morphs. So this is an option that if you do get something weird like that, try relative blend. Sometimes you may want to use it, sometimes you may not, depending on the setup of the particular scene that you're working with. There's a couple more things that I was going to mention that we've added in 8.1. This one I'm not going to show, but you can import movies into Anime Studio. You've been able to do that for a long time. We've added an option to play a movie backwards. Once you've imported it, you can just play it in reverse. And the reason you might want to do that is, well, the reason I added the feature was I shot a home movie of my kids riding their bikes, and I thought it would be fun to just play it backwards and add some particle effects and things and make it into a funny little movie, a cute little thing. And so that's what that's for. But Just gives you some flexibility, another way to work with movies. And then the last thing is, yeah.
Point out, yeah, that feature is you access it via the layer setting image tab. So that's how you get to that setting.
In Anime 8, we added rounded end caps to curves. But one thing that didn't work was if you changed the exposure, the stroke exposure of the curve, the rounded end cap would disappear and you'd get a hard squared off end. And so this is in 8.1 you get rounded caps even if you're using stroke exposure. So it's a little bit of a subtle point, but if you've run into that, you may appreciate that the end of the curve stays round now in Anime 8.1. And I think that's all I had to show the feature demo. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And if Michi could pass me the ball, then I can go back. Perfect. There we go. So those were all of Mike's major updates in version 8.1. So the next slide is really about Q&A. And I hope everyone's been asking questions so that we can help answer questions related to Anime Studio or what have you.
I'm not seeing any questions. Does anybody have any questions? Please post them to the chat.
There's this isn't a question exactly, but Victor mentioned the freeze points feature. There are a few more features beyond what I talked about on that page, and one of them is freeze points. It's sort of a tool to help you help with your keyframe animation. There's a command to freeze bones, and in 8.1 there's an additional command to freeze points, which is sort of sometimes when you're keyframe animating, vector points can drift around, and freezing them locks them at a particular point in time.
I'd like to point out, there are, there was a variety of bug fixes as well that was stated in one of the slides. We're not going to go over a lot of those today, but you'll, when you download 8.1, there'll be a, some of the key ones listed in the README.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we don't have any questions, so I think we have a few people that are excited about blend points and stuff.
So Adrian would like to know if we have frame by frame comes in the studio in the future. Anyone able to answer that? Can you take that one?
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely something that has been asked for quite often. So we'll definitely evaluate how to implement something like that and see what the necessary steps are to creating frame by frame. As you guys know, Anime Studio is not really a frame by frame tool, but because we're getting so many requests, Mike and Jason have definitely been thinking about it. So that's the best answer I can give at this moment. We're definitely looking at it. It's definitely a very common request. So hopefully we'll see what happens in the future. We hope to be able to come up with some sort of a resolution for that request.
Manuel had a question about tutorials. So there, I believe it's from the help menu in the application. There's a link to online tutorials, and that will bring you to the anime.smithmicro.com website. And there's a variety of movies up there. There's also, if you're looking for other support, I'd do a search for Anime Studio tutorials, maybe on YouTube. There's a few people up there that are providing some great help to the community. As well, the Lost Marble forums the users there are exceptionally helpful. So that is lostmarble.com/forum.
So Charles would like to know, is the BlendMorph GUI going to have the same pop-up behavior? Do you know that?
We've had a request for it to be like a floating non-modal window, but that's not something that's been added in 8.1. Recognize the desire, but it's the way it operates. It's not a trivial change, but it's something that we can look at down the road.
We have another question from Danny. He's wondering, is the new relative blending supported by the scripting interface? I mean, he's asking, will it improve performance of Redger's morph style script?
It is supported by the scripting interface. I'm not that familiar with the Morphdial's script, so we'll have to see if he can integrate it. You know, that's something that one of our users has created. So he'll have to look at whether he can make use of that in his script, but it is available through scripting.
Is there anything else?
Danny had a question about follow path and stroke exposure, but I'm actually not sure about how to answer that or exactly how the question was.
Danny, if you want to ask your question again to all participants about something about stroke exposure. All panelists, sorry.
And if anybody else has any questions, feel free to ask questions. We're actually here for you guys, so we look forward to your questions. Anything was fine.
Was there any other Lua scripting additions made?
There are quite a few additions to the Lua scripting interface. We've had some beta users taking a look, and when 8.1 is released to the public, we'll release a new Lua interface to you so you can see what's new.
Lisandro had a question. I need to render each layer separately so they can be composed in After Effects. Is there any script to automate rendering each top layer separately?
There isn't a built-in script, but so there's two approaches. I think scripting, it's possible to render an individual frame. So a script could turn visibility on and off and render frames. The other option you have is if you're using the Pro version, you can output your animation as a sequence of PSD or Photoshop files, and those are layered. So if you output as a sequence of PSD files, you will get layered output.
Put them in a switch layer or something?
No, it just take any regular anime project. If you export it as PSD, the top level layers in the anime file will be separate layers in the PSD file.
So I believe Danny asked the question too. Did you have a chance to read that, Mike, or did you want me to read it too?
I'm scrolling back up. Let's see.
Go ahead and read it, please.
Sure. So Danny says, I've noticed a difference in the animation of stroke exposure and follow path, say for adding an arrow head to align with stroke exposure. Can this be addressed?
I'm going to have to take a look at that. I don't...
So yeah, as far as we know, we haven't addressed it in 8.1, but we'll take a look at it, and if there is some sort of issue there, we'll definitely address it moving forward.
I got a question from Manuel about mentioning a new feature and then showing something else. I think I was jumping ahead one. I don't think I skipped one. I was going to show the magic lines and then forgot to mention Poser, but I ended up showing both. And he had another question about using video as a background with cartoon characters. You can, in the File menu, File, Import, Movie. You can import a movie file, and it'll come in as a layer in Anime Studio, and then you can create other layers on top of it. So it's quite easy to animate a character on top of a movie that way.
So I'm gonna share a link quick that Danny posted to all participants. It's a Lost Marble link where a member, Pony Masher, has posted a script to export the layers individually. Like I believe it was Lysandra that asked.
That's it for questions then. If anyone else has any further questions, if you could post them now, we'll be happy to address those. And if not, then we're going to be wrapping things up.
And if you have any questions directed at any individual, please feel free to email myself, Fahim. My email is pretty much all over Lost Marble. So feel free to look me up and shoot me an email, and then I can pass it to Mike, Jason, or Michi, or whoever you'd like to chat with. So Adrian has a question, and then Adrian's question is, has cycle frame error been resolved?
He might have to be more specific. I remember there was an error quite a while ago that has been resolved. I'd have to go through our bug database and figure out when that was. It feels like it was a long time ago, and I'm not sure if there has been an 8.0.1 release a while back.
Victor just mentioned that he thinks that it was resolved in version 7 of Anime Studio. And Danny asks, how can I become a beta tester? Sure, why don't you email me, Danny, and then we'll talk about it. I'll just put up my email address up here for you all to see. Oh, Jason also put up his email address too. So Jason is the go-to man for the beta team, so he's in charge of the beta program. Anything else, guys?
I think that's it, Fahim.
Well, I hope everyone enjoyed this webinar as much as we enjoyed it. It was really, a great opportunity for us to interact. We hope to do more of these together so that, we can get more feedback from you guys and let you guys feel like, you're part of the team, because you truly are. We apologize for, posting up the registration a little bit late. We hope, in the future we'll get that out a little bit sooner. For us as well, we're just getting started with this whole webinar thing, and pretty soon we'll be experts at this. So feel free to contact us. You have Jason's email address. You have my email address. If you have any questions, go on Lost Marble, ask questions up on there, or make comments, and we look forward to seeing you there on our Facebook site and anywhere else. All right. So thank you very much, guys, and thanks to Jason and Mike and Michi for organizing all of this stuff.
Oh, no problem. Fahim, can I add one more thing? We have, I think we have a lot of international people that attended today, and I know times are, shifted all different across the world. So if you guys want to give any feedback on how this time worked for everybody for you, that would be great for future reference. Thank you.
And
thanks everybody for joining us, and we hope you join us again for our next webinar. Have a great day.
And perfect. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.